Picture this, you're an active person living a vibrant life with lots of hobbies, interests, and valuable relationships. You're always on the move and love to try new foods, see new cultures, and explore this thing that we call life. But then something changes. You feel a shift in your health, and just like that, it feels like running into a brick wall. All those activities that have meant so much to you have to slow down or stop altogether, and you feel mad. You feel frustrated and alone. What comes next? Let's talk about it. Hello and welcome back to Unwinding Minds. If you're new here, hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm Rosie. I'm a chronically ill counsellor based in the UK, and I specialise in supporting disabled, neurodiverse and chronically ill people with managing their mental health. I also make these videos on the side as a bit of a supplement to offering counselling services privately. And that's to support everyone, including those who cannot access counselling with a professional like myself at the moment. It's important to state, however, that these videos really are not a substitute for counselling. They're only intended to support with psychoeducation. So let's jump into things quickly. Frustration, irritation, and anger are not talked about enough when it comes to life-changing diagnoses. Even in the course of researching for this video, I found almost nothing online about what you're supposed to do when you're experiencing these big feelings, and I'm going to share in this video why I think that is. But first off, I do want to make it clear that this video could be triggering or difficult to watch. We'll be talking about grief, anger, and resentment today, and I will ask you to make sure that you're in the right frame of mind before watching it. I outlined that situation at the start of the video because it's exceedingly common, especially in disabled or chronically ill people. You may not have to imagine it if you've clicked on this video. There's a good chance it's already happening or has happened to you or a loved one. A common response in this situation is anger, which surprises some people, but to summarise why anger happens is as easy as a sentence. Anger is often grief that has nowhere to go. When something important to you is lost, whether it's a future you envisioned, or a version of yourself, or control, and that loss can't be fixed or rectified easily, the pain doesn't always just come out as sadness. I think people sometimes can make the mistake of not recognising grief if it's wearing the trench coat of anger. Sadness is easier to recognise as grief. It's soft and vulnerable, where anger is more like armour. Anger steps in when grief feels too overwhelming, or when you feel too helpless, or something feels too dangerous to feel directly. It can give the nervous system a sense of movement and power and control, where the sadness of grief offers stillness and surrender. It's a reflection of how important the life you were leading before was to you. We can treat it as evidence that your life means something to you, that you matter and that what you feel matters. Here is the tough cookie of therapy, of medical professionals, of self-help books, of healing professions overall. Most professionals are really invested in helping you to heal. Although granted, this doesn't always feel like it's the case. There are many reasons why people dive into becoming a therapist, or a doctor, or a life coach, etc., but most of the time the biggest desire is to help others. There is an unfortunate problem that many professionals run into when it comes to helping. Not every problem is resolvable. Shocker, your terminal illness or divorce or chronic illness is not going away. The discomfort generated from seeing a problem and being unable to offer a complete resolution can, in some professionals, lead them to pull away from your genuine experiences. This sucks because the pulling away can feel like, well, on the client end, not being understood or not being cared about or listened to, or even feeling that you're the problem for not having found a way to deal with difficult feelings like rage or resentment. It is really damaging when this happens. It's possible in some cases for a therapeutic relationship, for example, to be repaired if something like this happens. But it's often enough to completely break the trust. It's a direct product of emotions being looked at through the medical kind of scope of thing to fix. Wouldn't you know it? There is a serious problem with pathologizing emotions and trying to fix them. Crazy, right? But this desire to fix, resolve, and move through leads professionals instinctively to lean away from the problems that they see, because the emotions can be profound and long-lasting. There is almost nothing that I or anyone else can say that will put a complete end to the frustration of your health or body not being in the place you want it to be. You might find healing and comfort in some places with some words, but it differs so much from person to person and is unpredictable. The problem I spoke about is also compounded by another pulling away. You pulling away from frustration. Yep, I know that you don't want to hate your life, or be angry, or resent the things that you've lost. That's usually not the goal that people have in their minds. Shocker. But avoiding frustration doesn't make it disappear. It just forces it underground, where it tends to harden. When you don't feel allowed to be angry, when you tell yourself that you should be grateful or positive or really zen or resilient or, God forbid, inspirational, that anger doesn't dissolve into acceptance. It turns inwards. It shows up as shame or self-criticism or numbness or exhaustion, or even a quiet belief that you're failing at being sick the right way, whatever that means. You start policing your own emotions, editing your pain before anyone else gets the chance to see it. And that self-abandonment hurts almost as much as the original loss. A lot of people are afraid that if they let themselves feel rage, they will never come back from it, that they'll become bitter or cruel or unrecognizable to themselves. But emotions don't tend to work like that. Rage isn't a sinkhole. It's a signal. It's your nervous system saying, something important was taken from me and no one is acknowledging the cost. When you can allow anger to exist without immediately trying to fix, justify, or turn it into a lesson, it often softens on its own. Not necessarily because your situation has changed, but because you stop fighting your own responses to it. This is where the conversation around healing often gets stuck. Healing is framed as feeling better, being calmer, being more accepting. But sometimes healing doesn't look this way. It can be finally saying, this is unfair, and letting the truth land without rushing to silver linings. Sometimes it looks like grief that keeps returning, because the loss keeps showing up every day. Chronic situations can create chronic grief, and it makes sense that the emotions tied to them are not neat, temporary, or polite. Being angry is part of being human. You are not failing if resentment keeps resurfacing. These feelings don't mean that you're ungrateful for your life, negative, or stuck. They mean that you're a human in a body and a life that was changed without your consent. They're signals for us to listen to, and the work, as hard as it is, isn't to erase rage, but to make room for it without letting it define your experience in this world. We want to leave space for love and joy too, after all. And maybe the most important part, you don't have to make these feelings productive in order for them to be okay. Your anger doesn't need to teach you something profound or turn you into a better person in order to be valid. It can simply exist because something mattered to you, something was lost, and you are still here trying to find a way to move forward. Therapy is a great environment to be able to process anger, to accept it, to review what's causing it, and if you then want to reduce it. The thing about therapy is it's a series of choices. It's not often looked at that way, but it's a continual relationship with yourself. By opening up to another human being, it helps you to get more comfortable with the vulnerability of feelings that are very difficult to manage on your own. And certainly, I'm a therapist, I'm biased, obviously, but I think it's an excellent way of processing the trauma, the difficulty, and the absolute adversity of being ill. But anyway, that's just my opinion on it. All of this is really to say that anger is a very understandable emotion to be experiencing when you've lost something of meaning to you. There exist many strategies for navigating anger, frustration, and difficult feelings, and therapy can be a helpful environment where you could explore them if and when you want to. If you've made it this far, please know that I'm very grateful to you. If this episode's resonated with you, please take a second to like it, to subscribe to the channel, or to share it with someone who might need to hear this message today. You never know, you might make a huge difference to their life as well. We make a lot of videos about chronic illness, disability, neurodivergence, and mental health on this channel, and I'm always really interested to see what people want to see more of. If you have thoughts, put them down in the comments section below. I do read through them all. And check the description if you are interested in working with me on a one-to-one basis around managing your feelings with chronic illness, as I do offer private counselling services. Thank you so much for watching, and take really good care.